What's up? Hello, my name is Emma and today I am giving you guys my February book haul. In the month of February, I collected about 20 or 21 books. I definitely bought more than I typically do, way more than I have in quite a few months. But I do have justifications for these because I feel the need to give them. Almost every single book I did buy this month was on a deal. It was a part of a coupon. There was a discount. So I didn't really buy anything full price this month. And number two, I have been reading so much more than I have. I don't think I've had such a successful start to my reading year since like 2014, 2015. I've already read almost like 25 books and it's just the end of February. So I think it's okay for me to buy a few more books if I am actively reading more books that I get. So without further ado, let's get into all of the amazing books that I got in this past month. So one of the very first things that I did in the month of February was go to a book signing. And as I'm thinking now, it might have actually been in January and like I just filmed my haul before I went to the signing, but I went to a book signing this month, which was really awesome. So I got to meet Holly Black and get her newest release, The Cruel Prince signed, and I met debut author Melissa Albert and got her new book, The Hazelwood signed. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about The Cruel Prince. I unboxed a couple of different editions of it. I read it in January, so I talked about it in that wrap up, and I really enjoyed The Cruel Prince. I will leave that wrap up down below if you're interested in hearing some of my full-fledged thoughts, but The Cruel Prince follows a girl named Jude who was taken away with her sisters at a very young age to live in fairyland amongst other fairies. As it is very common in many stories about fairies, they hate mortals, so it has been very difficult for Jude to find a place for herself in this world, especially because she aspires to be a knight of the court. For a long time, that has seemed impossible to Jude, but she's given the opportunity to be a spy for one of the cruelest princes of the court, where if she spies for him and reports back to him, she can eventually have the ability to be recognized as a knight of the court. It's a really great fantasy novel. Holly Black never disappoints. It is full of political intrigue and interesting character dynamics, and I really, really loved it. With The Hazelwood, I also have talked about it quite frequently with the amount of unboxings that I did with this book this month, but it follows a girl named Alice whose grandmother is a famous author of fairy tales, and she has recently died at her lonely estate called the Hazelwood. Around the same time, Alice's mother is also taken away by a creature that happens to be part, or at least claims to come from, her grandmother's fairy tales, and it gives her this one warning to stay away from the Hazelwood. So Alice teams up with, I believe it is a classmate who happens to be a huge fan of her grandmother's fairy tales, and they travel to the Hazelwood to uncover some of these secrets, find out what happened to her grandmother, where her mother is, and it just all around sounds like a very interesting, unique, dark fantasy story. I have heard some mixed reviews of the Hazelwood, but I do think it really aligns with my personal reading interests, so I'm very hopeful that I like it. I really hope I like it because this is my third edition of the book, and I would be very, very disappointed if I had so many gorgeous copies of this book and I just ended up not liking it. This month I received a super exciting package from HarperCollins, so thank you so much to Harper for sending me a copy of Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I also read Truly Devious in January. Check out my wrap-up if you want to hear my thoughts on it, but I'm raving about it. It's so good. I love Truly Devious, and I cannot wait for book 2 in this amazing mystery thriller series. Truly Devious takes place at this very unconventional school called Ellingham Academy, where the owner of this school opened it up in like 1930s, where students could come to learn anything they are interested in for free. In 1936, the daughter and wife of the founder, as well as a student at Ellingham Academy, were gone missing, and then they were found dead, and the only evidence they had was a note signed Truly Devious. Fast forward to the present day, our main character's name is Stevie, and she is attending Ellingham Academy for the first time to study true crime, and what has really brought her to Ellingham Academy is that she wants to solve these murders, find out who Truly Devious is, and what happened to them. So we follow Stevie, who is at Ellingham Academy, where she is studying the murders that happened here, and certain things are starting to happen at Ellingham Academy that might be connected, and we also have a few chapters that take place in 1936 from a variety of different people that might have been involved in this tragedy, and it is just amazing. It is one of the best YA mystery thrillers I've ever read. I'm obsessed with it. I can't wait for this trilogy to continue. I'm so excited. So if you're someone that likes mystery thrillers, I would totally recommend Truly Devious. So in the month of February, I finally became a Barnes & Noble member. I know so many people in the comments are like, girl, you have been buying books in Barnes & Noble for 4 years and you haven't been a member. Yes. So I finally became a member, and I was like, you know what, like I might as well just take advantage of my new benefits. There's free shipping for members, and their prices online are much lower than their prices in stores, so let me order some books. So the first book I got is Dear Martin by Nick Stone. Also read it in January, but I read the arc. I didn't have a final copy, so I definitely wanted to get it to support Nick because I loved this book so much. Again, check out that wrap up, but I'm so happy I finally have a copy of Dear Martin. If you are unaware, it follows a young boy named Justice who is a really successful student. He is going off to Ivy League education in the future, but he is a black teen in a more white, rich neighborhood, so therefore he definitely has some unique experiences. Justice has an incident with the cops for something that he didn't do. He's having trouble with his ex-girlfriend. His classmates look down on him from where he came from, and the people from his previous rough neighborhood reject him because of the path he is currently on. So Justice starts writing letters to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and tries to adapt some of his practices into Justice's own life, but things get very, very tough when he is driving with his friend named Manny, and they spark the rage of an off-duty cop, and things just really implode from there. I love Dear Martin. If you loved The Hate U Give, you absolutely will love Dear Martin, and it is a quick, intense contemporary that I would definitely recommend. This mini book haul within a book haul was definitely meant for smaller books because the next one I purchased is Beneath the Sugar Sky by Sean and McGuire, which is book 3 in the Wayward Children series. The Wayward Children series as a whole follows a bunch of different children who have somehow found themselves in these different fantasy worlds, and without warning, it could be 2 days later, 2 years later, time runs differently there than it does in our reality. They are dropped back, they can't go to the fantasy world anymore, and so they are sent to the School for Wayward Children where they can relate to other people that have had similar experiences. And so although each book in the Wayward Children series does follow a different protagonist and it follows a different story, it's not totally chronological, I can't really talk too much about the synopsis of Beneath the Sugar Sky because it is so related to the other books, but nonetheless, it's a great series. They're short and quick to read. They have very diverse characters. The magical fantasy elements of it are really great, and I definitely recommend it. So I can't wait to continue with book 3. And so the final book from that might as well Barnes & Noble shopping is Challenger Deep by Neil Shusterman, which I also read this month, so you will hear more about it in my February wrap-up. Our main character's name is Caden, and he's dealing with schizophrenia. Half of this book takes place in the real world, where we are watching Caden's symptoms develop and unfold, and we are seeing how his disorder intensifies, and the other half of this book takes place as Caden is a shipmate on a pirate ship with a captain and parrots and crew members and deck swabbies, and it is this very elaborate ship that Caden is living on half the time. I don't want to say too much about Challenger Deep because it is definitely a book that you need to experience on your own, but I loved it so much. One of my all-time favorite new mental health books. It is a National Book Award winner, and I know that Neil Shusterman's son deals with schizophrenia, so it is like very accurate, very true to my own experiences with psychosis, and it was just all around amazing. I'm so happy I read it this month. So I kid you not, 2 days after I placed that order for those 3 books from Barnes & Noble, I find out on Twitter that Barnes & Noble is running a 3 YA books for $30 sale right after I bought 3 YA books. So naturally I had to buy 3 more. So the first book I purchased in that 3 for $30 YA deal is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. This is a book that I have already read. I listened to the audiobook and loved it, and I do actually own a copy of it. I own the Owl Crate exclusive cover, but for the longest time I have been lusting after the original cover because I'm so obsessed with the seafoam green on it. I'm literally just obsessed with this cover. So you guys know me, I like to collect different editions of books. There's nothing wrong with that, but I only do so if I can get it at a discounted price. So when I had the opportunity to buy this $18, $19 book for $10, I'm like, I'm probably not gonna find it for less than that. So I thought it was finally time. The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue takes place in the 1700s, where our main character's name is Monty, and he is about to trek off to a grand tour around Europe with his best friend named Percy, whom he is in love with, and his sister named Felicity. Monty is reckless and rebellious. He doesn't like authority. He likes to do his own thing. So naturally there are a lot of shenanigans and scandals that happen along their grand tour, but things intensify when Monty steals a very priceless item from, I believe it is like the king or a noble, and basically they are being chased across Europe for this item. As I said, I've read The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. I love this story so much. My mom's actually reading my other copy of it because I just couldn't stop raving about it when I read it. It is so humorous, one of the funniest YA books I've ever read. There is so much more action than I initially envisioned when going into this story, and I really cannot wait for book 2 to come out later this year. The next book I bought in that 3 for $30 YA deal is Down and Across by Arvin Ahmadi. I've met Arvin quite a few times at some New York City book signings. I believe the first time I met him, he had told me that like his book had like just gotten published, so it's been really cool to watch his journey this whole time, but I hadn't bought Down and Across until now. So our main character's name is Scott. He is a high school senior and he has no idea what he wants to do with his life. Everyone else has everything figured out, but he can't commit to anything, so he sneaks off to Washington, D.C. to seek the advice of a psychologist whom he thinks can help. While in D.C., Scott meets a college girl named Fiona who is eccentric and interesting. Her life goal is to write crossword puzzles, and it is just this really interesting, like, wild time in DC where it's about finding yourself and finding what you want in life, and I'm very, very excited for it. I've heard amazing things and I know I'm going to love it. As a plus for me, I am like really into reading YA books about college students or high school students like planning on going to college and figuring out what they want to do with their lives. So like if you put college in the synopsis of your book, I'm gonna want to read it. So Down and Across seems like it's gonna be a great contemporary fit for me, and I know I'm gonna love it. And the last book that I bought in that 3 for $30 YA sale is The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. So the reason I got this book is actually just because someone on my Curious Cat has really great timing. They were like bugging me to read it as I was going through the books available for this sale, and I was like, might as well. Honestly, I haven't like spontaneously bought a book that I didn't know much about or that I like wasn't already excited for, that I didn't already love in a very long while. So I think it was time for me to have a new one in my life. Our main character's name is Eden, and she is unfortunately raped by the brother of her best friend. So like trigger warning for rape right off the back with this book. But it follows Eden throughout 4 different years, freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year of high school, showing how her trauma changes through time and develops, and the hardships that she goes through living with the secret that she's hidden inside of herself. I think it was last month where I said I want to read more books about trauma and sexual assault and whatnot. So like whoever on Curious Cat, you did a great deed. You're doing the Lord's work, because I know I'm gonna love this book. I've heard really great reviews. It seems very emotional and amazing, and I'm definitely putting it on my TBR like up the top that I really want to get to very soon. So I have another mini haul within a haul this month thanks to the amazing thriftbooks.com. So thank you so much to Thrift Books for sending me this wonderful little package. Thrift Books is an online used bookstore. So they have a massive collection of old books, and they even have some newer releases. They also sell new books on their website for discounted prices. I really love Thrift Books. I've only ever had good experiences when ordering from them, so like I would endorse them even if they didn't send me these books, but they did give me the opportunity to personally pick out some books from their collection that I was interested in, and they had really, really great deals on them, so I'm very excited to share some of these books with you guys. The first 2 books are The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer and The Evolution of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin. These are the first 2 books in the Mara Dyer series. I have read the first 3 books in the Mara Dyer series in the past, and the 4th book, which follows a different character, came out this past November. So I already love this series, but I recently gave my boyfriend the first 2 books in this series to read, so I needed to restock on them, especially because it has been a book that I have been dying to reread for a very long time. I'm interested to see if I still love it as much as I did when I was 17, but it's a super interesting paranormal romance story. Our main character's name is Mara Dyer, and at the start of the novel, she wakes up in a hospital with no memory of the accident she was in that killed all of her friends. So as Mara is trying to return to real life, she starts seeing the ghosts of her dead friends that are haunting her, and she meets a swoony love interest named Noah Shaw, who I adore, and I just love the Mara Dyer series so much. I Definitely want to reread them very soon into the future because I love this series so much, and that's all I can really say about it. The next book I got from Thrift Books is Last Seen Leaving by Caleb Rowing. I talked about this in my mystery thriller TBR video where I shared some adult and YA mystery thrillers that I want to read, and I finally got a copy of Last Seen Leaving, which I'm very excited for. It follows a main character named Flynn whose girlfriend named January is missing, and while Flynn knows nothing of her disappearance and wants to just find her, he is being blamed for her disappearance. And so it says Flynn has a secret of his own, and as things are coming up about January's disappearance, he might have to deal with his own secrets himself. I've also heard that this book does have like bisexual representation, and there is a couple between two boys in the novel. So it's very unique. I think I'm really going to like it. I've heard really good reviews, and just the cover is beautiful too. That's always a plus. Next book I got from Thrift Books is We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson. Dylan the reader, I hope you are watching this video because I got this one just for you. So I truthfully did not know much about We Are the Ants until I just read the synopsis. I've only heard just really great things about it. Our main character's name is Henry, and he's going through a really rough time. His mother is resorting to some addictive behaviors to try and keep the family together. His grandmother is dealing with Alzheimer's, and he has to watch her go through that. His best friend died of suicide the last year, and apparently he's been abducted by aliens, and they keep bringing him into his ship, which is pretty freaking inconvenient. So the aliens that have been abducting Henry have told him that the world is going to end, but Henry has the ability to stop it by pressing a button, and he has 144 days to decide if the world is worth saving. So in this time, Henry meets a boy named Dennis, who is an artist that causes Henry to think differently about the world and change the perspective of the world he's living in, as well as within himself. So I think there might be some LGBTQ plus representation in the novel, although I'm not entirely sure of it as of now. But I hear We Are the Ants is just amazing. I feel like I've only heard good things about it. It sounds really, really fantastic, and I'm sure I'm going to love it. The next book I got off of Thrift Books is Beauty Queens by Libba Bray, yet another book that I have just been pushing off buying for a very long time despite being very interested. So essentially, Beauty Queens has been described to me as sort of like Lord of the Flies but with pageant queens. So it's essentially if Lord of the Flies happened with girls. Beauty Queens follows 50 pageant contestants as their plane has crashed on an island with no food, no shelter, nothing for them to survive in. So it's all about these girls fighting to survive. Apparently sexy pirates show up, and it's supposed to be really humorous, very funny, and I've only heard great things about it again, so this is another one that I'm very, very excited to read. I've also heard that Libba Bray narrates the audiobook of this one, so I might decide to pick it up on audio, but nonetheless, I'm really excited I finally have it. The next book I ordered off of Thrift Books is Noteworthy by Riley Redgate. I read Riley Redgate's earlier release this past year of 2017 called 7 Ways You Lie, and I loved it, so as soon as I found out that they wrote a book about acapella, I had to get it. I don't think I've ever mentioned this before, but my dad was actually in a fairly successful New York-based acapella group in the 70s or 80s.
Too late to turn back now. I believe I'm falling in love.
And so I grew up with acapella being a huge part of my life, but I don't think I've ever seen it expressed in literature before, so I'm very excited to read it. All of these specifics that I really know about this book is that it follows a girl named Jordan who is pursuing a career in music, but she has constantly been turned down because she's an alto too, and so she ends up joining an all-male a cappella group called the Sharpshooters, and things start to turn around from there. It sounds like a really wholesome young adult contemporary, and I just know I'm going to love it. So the final 3 books I got off of Thrift Books are actually an entire series that I got for $12, which is so awesome, and that is the Modern Fairy Tale series by Holly Black, which includes Tithe, Valiant, and Ironside. I literally did not know anything about the Modern Fairy Tale series other than people saying that they have loved Tithe for so many years, so I figured it was time, especially because after reading The Cruel Prince, I've been in a real big Holly Black mood. I don't know if I have a full understanding of what Tithe is about just yet. It says it takes place in the realm of fairy, where our main character's name is Kay, and she is a modern nomad where she travels around with her mother's rock band until an ominous force has forced her back home to New Jersey. And so essentially Kay finds herself in the midst of a war between 2 rival fairy kingdoms and a struggle that could very well mean her death. So it's very interesting, very Holly Black, and I've just been in the mood for more dark fantasy, urban fantasy sort of books, so I think I'm really going to enjoy it. So the final book on this haul was just sent to me by Simon & Schuster. I got it last night and I'm very intrigued by it, and that is Emergency Contact by Mary Kay Choi. Our main character's name is Penny Lee, and she is a Korean American girl pursuing writing in a Texas school that is thousands of miles away from her hometown, where she's had like a very mediocre, non-eventful high school career. Our other main character's name is Sam, and he is in an entirely different situation than Penny. He is very, very poor. He works at a cafe. He is sleeping at the cafe on a mattress. And he has aspirations to become a famous movie director, but he is in a particularly rough patch in his life where he feels stuck. And so when Sam and Penny meet, they exchange number, and they sort of become this emergency contact or confidant that they can delve into with their deepest anxieties, fears, and hopes and whatnot. And it seems like a really interesting relationship that hasn't been developed in YA. I'm assuming there is some sort of mental health theme with the title being Emergency Contact and them talking about anxieties in the synopsis. I did read in another review that it might delve into sexual assault. Haven't read it, can't really say much about that, but just be aware that it might be included in the novel. And apparently it's just supposed to be like this really awkward, unique, humorous novel dealing with serious topics, which I am like all about. So it seems like a really perfect fit for me as a reader. Additionally, it is on voices for the Korean American representation, which I am just like all about. So it definitely seems, like I said, like it's gonna be a really great book for me. I can totally see myself loving it, and I'm excited to read it. Simon & Schuster actually sent me an additional copy of Emergency Contact, so I am going to be giving it away to one of you guys on Instagram, so definitely check the description below for the link to information about the giveaway if you are interested in winning this book. But that really concludes my February book haul. I'm sorry this one was so long. I feel like I just had a lot to talk about in regard to these books. I mean, I had a lot of books, but they all came with like their own little anecdotes and stories, and I had a really great time. I've already loved some of these books in this haul. There's a lot more in here that I know I'm going to love in the future, so definitely let me know in the comments below if any of these books interest you or if you've read any of them. What do you think? Because I would love to know. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new one. Bye!